Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your host of Most Will Buchanan, and this is the Get Bit Podcast. The blurs for blurs and nerds, and for everyone to enjoy. Hope you're all doing well on this wonderful weekend. It is much deserved for all of us, and trust me, we all need it, including yourself. Kind of running solo in a sense tonight. That's okay. Joe is definitely with me in a more of a spiritual form, if you will. He left the video, but anyway. Before we do get started, we try to keep this a family friendly podcast, which means we do try to watch our language, but sometimes words do fly. And then sometimes we may show things of a nature, which it's not like really dark stuff, but let's be honest, it might not be for younger viewers, so viewer discretion is advised. Aside from that, welcome. So let's go ahead and get into the nitty gritty of it. There are a few games that are coming out. One that's already been out for well over a year on the Nintendo Switch, but it's actually going to be finally coming to all platforms, and I can't wait to play it. I am honestly talking about Hades. Now, for all those that don't know what Hades is, it was actually one of the surprising games on Switch to where you are literally trying to fight out of Hades using sort of weapons. Now, again, this is actually the trailer they actually showed for it a year ago about this, and it was actually one of the Switch's best-selling games. And I always sit there and said before I had a Switch, I always wanted to play it. But now that I have a Switch, it's now decided to come out on all platforms. So if you've never seen any gameplay of this, to be honest with you guys, I've been told it is great. I know I've been watching people play it and beat it, and I am actually more psyched to play it. It is actually one of my favorite. It's actually one of my favorite games I'm looking forward to playing as far as a rogue side scroller um, Diablo type game. But I'm actually looking forward to it. This is actually just some of the gameplay and the artist and the artwork and the graphics behind it. It's just it's fun. And I've actually downloaded. I mean, like I said, it's all available on all platforms, which means PS5, PS4, Xbox, Xbox One, and Xbox S, One S. So I know I've already got it downloaded to my PlayStation 4, and I can't wait to play it. But I just know if you're like me and you didn't have a Switch at the time and couldn't be able to play it, now would be perfect. So that's actually the game. That's actually one of the games I'm looking forward to playing right after this podcast is over. The other game I wanted to talk about as well, Joe actually pointed this out to be called Blazing Strike. Now, Blazing Strike is done by Cassis Games. Now, if you've never heard of Blazing Strike, at first when you look at it, this honestly looks like a love letter to Street Fighter Third Strike. And I'm not gonna lie, I was like, okay, there still is a niche area for 2D side-scrolling games, especially if you talk to your Street Fighters, your Killer Instincts, Tekken as well. But I mean, when I first looked at this, I'm like, this kind of reminds me of, like I said before, Street Fighter Third Strike. But it does have a certain niche. Now, if you're like me and you love those retro 2D fighter games, then this is definitely going to be up your alley because I looked at this trailer for it, and again, it's muted because if we played it, they tend to kind of strike us down and try. Well, let's be honest, Zuckerberg likes to Zuckerberg us whenever we do something like this. But yet, but again, the way this trailer shows, it just looks like it's gonna be beautiful, and it's actually called Blazing Strike, which again is ominously close to Street Fighter's Third Strike. Everything short of well, I'm not gonna try to say everything short of possible legal issues, but again, I'm looking forward to it. But anyway, CW shows of the week. I wanted to go ahead and knock this out as soon as possible because I want to get to the nitty gritty. Um, First off, I owe an apology. Joe, who is a Starman fan, he is self-imposed said he's a Starman fan. A long time ago, said that I should give Stargirl a chance. Keep in mind, at the beginning when I started this podcast, I gave Stargirl 3 episodes, and I was like, dude, I'm out. It's not my thing. It looks corny. The whole teenage aspect. Then again, it is the CW. So Joe said, you know what? Just give it another shot. I mean, it's about to do season 2. Give it another shot. So I decided, you know what? Why not? We're kind of in a drought as far as superhero shows go, and I took it upon myself to watch Stargirl again, the first season. And I do owe an apology. Reason being why I owe an apology is basically because Stargirl, once you get past episode 4, I'm going to be honest with you, you're going to hear me repeat this a lot tonight. I don't know what happened to Stargirl after season 4, but I think the showrunner understood the assignment. It was actually way better, even to the suspenseful end. So I can honestly say I owe Stargirl an apology because I thought it was trash. But thankfully, I have friends that sit there and tell me, "Give it another shot. I think you might like it." Speaking of Stargirl, like I said, Joe's gonna have a review of that very soon, as I'll be playing the video he's left for me. But it has went so dark that I am surprised how dark the CW went with Stargirl's second season. I am not complaining. I think it's needed. I think it's great. I think it takes the show in a completely different direction, and it will keep the viewer entangled. Especially for the simple fact of the matter is, it's actually having them experience loss, and I'm talking loss like on an Avengers in-game level kind of loss. So I am definitely all for that as far as Stargirl goes. Legends of Tomorrow, there's really no point talking about. I know I watch that show. I watch it every week thinking it's going to be different. I think the showrunners for Legends of Tomorrow just gave up. I think this whole wacky something happens every week. It doesn't seem like it has a main story. Constantine is literally high on power and looks like a drug addict. I mean, it's just it makes no sense. It's just all over the place. So I mean, all I can say about Legends of Tomorrow is we keep hoping it gets better, but it really doesn't look that way and it needs to be canceled. Superman Lois cannot complain. I cannot complain about Superman Lois. Reason being why I can't complain about them, this most recent episode where literally I called it from Jump Street when I saw about Morgan. It's like he's pretty much the Eradicator, which if you remember the comics, he's a part of the Superman Eradication Squad. Which again, the Eradicator, which basically becomes him. And I love the fact of how they tie this into. I love the fact of John Henry using the hammer, very Thor esque as far as hitting someone. It's like I threw that hammer from across the continent, and I love that whole thing. I love that dynamic they're doing with we're cool, but we really ain't that cool. You can tell that because as Jonathan is trying to get to know John Henry as far as the weapons and things that he's using, you can tell that it's kind of like, well, I mean, I ain't got powers, but at least I can do something to defend this family. But the whole idea, especially at the end, and I should have said spoilers before I started talking. If you haven't seen, I apologize. But the end of it so far, with John's body being taken over by Morgan's Kryptonian father, is honestly brilliant and amazing. And again, it just sets the tone because I'm going to be honest, out of these very dark clouds of these CW episodes, it seems Superman Lois has really been the shining jewel so far. Now, of course, Supergirl's episodes, I don't know how that thing got another season. We'll be starting soon, and I know we'll be covering that just because there are some Supergirl fans out there. I'm sorry, that show should have ended after season one because it was some terrible writing. But anyway, what I wanted to get to in the middle of these, once I got the CW shows out the way, let me talk about two things first. I do want to address, first off, let me address the Titans because the Titans, man, if okay, for all those that don't know about the Titans, first off, season three. Season three, how it starts. And this will be spoilers because currently, right now, on HBO Max, episodes of season three, 1 through 3, are out right now. And I am going to be honest, I am not complaining. The showrunner understood the assignment. What I mean by that is from episodes 1 to 3, and I mean they have all been impacting, they've been heavy, they especially 3. Now again, as I'm talking, this is spoilers. If you have not seen it or you want to see it, now would be the good time to mute me or probably come back to me after you've watched the episodes. Reason being, just because it is going to spoil some things about episodes 1, 2, and 3, or 1 through 3 if you prefer. But the thing about it is because I don't want to show too much of that trailer before we get Zuckerberg. So episode 1 was great just because again we see the Titans actually working together as a team. We see Dick in the Nightwing outfit. You see Gar transforming into a tiger. You see Corey. You see Corey, aka Starfire, just doing her thing. And again, I like the fact that nuances. And then again, it goes back to, of course, a flashback to Todd being, let's be honest, Todd's on his way to becoming the Red Hood. which you can tell because they wanted to pay ode to a death in the family in the comics, which we all know Joker beating Jason Todd to death with a crowbar eventually led to him changing into Red Hood. So we get that part, and that's fine. That's cool. That's exactly what we wanted to show. You can literally see the descent into madness with Todd. At the same time, you can see Bruce Wayne having a sit down with Dick and Barbara, which I see Barbara now. They kind of fast forwarded Barbara to her Oracle, post Oracle, because now she's Commissioner. So she's had her post Batwoman Oracle killing joke moments, if you will. And the whole thing about it is they're just pretty much forcing Batman to reconsider every action he's done so far. And with Jason basically, being killed and thinking he's buried Jason, he's thinking that he just tells Dick it's time for you to take up the Batman mantle, which, let's be honest, in the comics, Dick does. Dick does take the Batman comics, takes the Batman mantle up in the comics for a while. So it brings in that dynamic, kicking the fact of the matter that the Red Hood is just starting to make his way known, and the surprise of Dick finding out who Red Hood is, and then let's be honest, episode 3 of Hawk and Dove. And I knew when I saw Hawk and Dove at the time for episode 3, I was like, "Oh, this somebody's taking the L on this one." And again, with the whole idea of just how they actually did it. Of course, Jason Todd just being diabolical and pretty much telling Dove to shoot him in order to save Hawk, not realizing that the detonator was the gun itself. And now she's living, and now she has to live with the grief that she's basically killed her lover, or the person she loves. And of course, it is psychologically messed up, but that's what the Red Hood is. And he's like goes to any lengths in order to accomplish his goal. And even though Dick is trying to not play his game, it's that Batman Joker, it's that Batman Joker pullback. The Joker going to many extremes to get Batman to break himself, and Batman wouldn't break. And you could see that whole dynamic and between Jason and Todd, and between Jason and Dick. So you're pretty much seeing that same battle, which I thought was great. Also, the twist of Dr. Nigel Crane, aka Scarecrow, being a profiler for Gotham PD, and the whole twist of trying to basically help out the police, because if he doesn't help out the police, he can't get his medicine, which I think is kind of perfect considering Scarecrow and Fear Toxin, and that he needs a certain additive to calm him out. You watch it, you'll understand where I'm coming from. But again, I loved it. It's the whole idea of just that whole part where everybody, even Superboy, was trying to, it was like, I can't build, trying to come up with countermeasures to actually beat the bomb that's strapped into Hawk's chest. So you see that whole dynamic, and it's just now that the team is rocked, and then that's not the only story. Considering the fact that on the other side of it all, Starfire is experiencing these out of body moments where where she's seeing signs of where she's strapped down to a chair. It looks like she's in some sort of facility, and when she comes out of it, she's in a different location, or she's speaking different tongues, or she's firing her flames at Beast Boy and and Superboy, and then realizing, oh, that's not a grease fire, is it? No, you just tried to roast them. So there's all interesting stories, but I do have two gripes, but I think they're going to solve themselves within this season within the season of Titans. Number one, I think by now Gar should be able to transform in different forms. I think the Tiger is just his go-to. The fact that he does go green at a few times, but then he doesn't stay green. I am not being particularly stuck on the green part. I'm not. What I am hoping for is that he does different forms. I think that eventually he will, but it just feels like, okay, everybody seems to be progressing in their story, but Gar doesn't seem to be moving forward. Now, I could be completely wrong. I was expecting a little bit of change since I saw everybody else going through changes in season 3, and to see Gar not really get somewhere. Then again, like I said, it's only episodes 1 through 3. I could be completely wrong. And then again, I have to ask the other question: where's Raven? Raven was such a part of season one and season two to now where season three, she's nowhere to be found. Now, again, she wasn't prevalent in episodes one through three, which tells me, where is she? Because she actually might be a different arc what she's going into, considering the fact of banishing her father Trigun back to where he came from. So again, that leads to a whole other dynamic. But what I'm getting out of this is but what I'm trying to say for Titan season three, it's off to a great start. Now, of course, it is on HBO Max. Unfortunately, they only released three episodes. They only released one episodes one through three. I think they're doing the new episodes every Thursday. So if you're trying to binge watch this, you may have to wait several weeks in order for you to do so. But I'm going to be honest. So far, Titans just seems to be completely on track and keeps you engaged. And I, for one, am all for that. However, I do have to speak about this other issue that I have here because my buddies over at Geek Squad, my buddies over at RE and G presents Geek Salad. They covered this, and I wanted to cover this. And what I want to cover so much is why in the world of the Suicide Squad hate. And I have to ask this question. And I'm talking about the Suicide Squad that just recently came out on in theaters at HBO Max. If you had a chance to see it, I have to ask this question all the time. Not all the time, but just recently because I gave my review of Suicide Squad. Me and Joe last week both did. We both loved it. We both thought it was great. But there are some individuals out there who, let's be honest, a lot of people who say it was garbage. And I'm trying to figure out where the hate is because I mean, movie wise, the story was exactly what we expected. James Gunn did a amazing storytelling of what the Suicide Squad is. It wasn't meant to be all happy endings. Of course, people are going to get off. That's the name of the squad. And at the same time, it was going to be extreme and bloody and disgusting. At the same time, beautiful and scene stealing at the same time because everybody in it. Nobody, there wasn't really just one person that was really shining. Everybody was. So again, with a movie like this, I would think the simple fact of the matter is, where's the hatred? I mean, for a lot of people say, "Oh, we're Harley Quinn, Harley Quinn." I said, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. If you're complaining about Harley Quinn, first off, Margot Robbie is a national treasure, and it's not because she said hi to me. And I'm not said because she said hi to me a month ago. I'm completely taking myself out of that. Keep in mind, I am the same individual that sat there and said while watching Suicide Squad that Margot Robbie wasn't the ideal Harley Quinn. I will go on record saying that because there's already a record of me saying that. That I thought at one point that Margot Robbie should not play Harley Quinn. Now, that being said, I only had the Suicide Squad and the Birds of Prey movie to basically dictate this. However, she is amazing in the Suicide Squad directed by James Gunn. I think that she actually took her character there. But you guys got to remember that when it comes to certain storytelling, certain things have plot armor. And what I mean by plot armor is, for the simple fact of the matter, if you've ever watched Dragon Ball Z, Goku is the biggest example of plot armor there is. For some odd reason, he is always strong enough to beat whoever he's facing. So, what does that mean? That means Harley Quinn's the same way. There are some people that they wanted to survive in Suicide Squad, and I think that's just for recognition. Harley Quinn being one of them, Bloodsport being the other one, Ratcatcher 2, and King Shark. Let's be honest, who also stole the scenes in the movie his own way. So, who hates this? I'm gonna be honest. Toxic fanboys, because before the Suicide Squad was about to be released, keep in mind there was a previous Suicide Squad directed by David Ayer. Now, again, I sat there and gave my review on that, and I said it was watchable. Now, keep in mind, this was DC with Snyder's imprints all over it. And I still say to this day, Zack Snyder's imprints are why a couple of movies, Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, and his Justice League were all just cinematically horrible because there wasn't a story because he's trying to cram an entire arc into a freaking movie. It just didn't make sense to do it. So, again with Suicide Squad, because they have to take elements from those movies, you can tell that it wasn't really never thought of. Now, don't get me wrong, it is watchable. Do not get me wrong about Suicide Squad directed by David Ayer. It is watchable. Will Smith is Deadshot, perfect casting. Margot Robbie, even though her Harley Quinn is significantly different than James Gunn's Suicide Squad, still watchable. And of course, with Rick Flag played by Joel Kidman, Amanda Waller still being played by the same individual, and I'm gonna be mad. Alfred, no, not Alfred Woodard. Oh Lord, no. It's gonna come back to me in a minute what her name is, and it's sad that I don't remember that right now. But again, the Ayer movie wasn't that bad. But if we're comparing Ayer's Suicide Squad to Gunn Suicide Squad was significantly better in my opinion. But the hatred comes back from those fanboys because I said this before with Zack Snyder and the Snyder fanboys saying, release the Snyder Cut, it was so great. No, it wasn't. And the thing about it is, HBO Max took a gamble and said, okay, well, we'll do the Snyder Cut with Warner Brothers and release on HBO Max for subscribers. And yes, we all watched it. I still said it was 4 hours of fluff. I still sat there and said it just wasn't worth it. I mean, all it did was put it, you cut out the scenes that made sense and added in scenes that didn't make sense. And then at the end of it all, you just watched a hodgepodge of just things that really didn't make any sense at the end. We didn't really need the what if Superman went dark side moment. And of course, you showed Joker, which is funny, the Joker from the White Knight series of Batman. And at the same time, you show, of course, Queen of Elephant, and then you show Flash, you show Cyborg. A lot of it just didn't make sense to show at the end because I still said Snyder's greatest mistake was that he did not make Darkseid the main character or villain of his Justice League. He had a perfectly good chance to take out Steppenwolf and make him a lackey versus putting Darkseid front and center and giving us a true battle we wanted. Those are my opinions. Now, a lot of fanboys felt vindicated by the fact that the Snyderverse got released, and even tried to sit there and say restore the Snyderverse, telling Warner Brothers. But Warner Brothers has sat there and said we gave Snyder his swan song. We are moving in a different direction. So what do we still know? What does that got to do with Suicide Squad? Very simple. It's the simple fact of the matter is, guys, that Ayer fanboys are saying now we want a director's cut of Suicide Squad. No, we don't. There's maybe a handful of you out there who probably do, but not everybody. Let's be honest. Let's give Suicide Squad its moment. It had its moment in the sun. Let's move on. But that's the thing about it. Like, the thing about it is with toxic fanboys, they will go over and try to a negative rating bomb anything, because we all know Rotten Tomatoes, Cinema Score, all this stuff. They will try to go out and trash the movie before it even comes out. Oh, I'm not watching this. It looks like it's terrible. It's this, it's that. They will try to negative bomb it in order to affect sales. Not forgetting, so the fact of the matter is this. But here's the difference. They did the same thing to the Ghostbusters movie where it's all women. Remember that? They said, "Oh, we don't need an all women's Ghostbusters movie. They're gonna do this terrible." They negative reviewed bombed that thing to where it did terrible in movie theaters. And there's a difference, and the reason why it was terrible, it was because the story was lacking. The story was a little weak. You certainly had two actresses trying to one up each other, and it just didn't have enough substance, even when you added a star power to it. But here's the difference between that Ghostbusters movie and Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad can have all the negative review bombs it wants; it still did well. But you're going to have those people out here, and I keep saying this. This is the reason why there was a Kylo Ren in Star Wars, because I said Kylo Ren is basically the edification of every negative fanboy who didn't get what they wanted out of a fandom. And I still think to this day, I still think to this day that that director of the Rey series of Star Wars, and I can't think of his name to save my life right now. I think he did that. I think he wrote Kylo Ren purposely just because that. That's just my opinion. But again, I don't get the hatred, folks. What is there to hate about Suicide Squad? Aside from the fact that, again, it is not a kids movie. At the same time, it is exactly what it's meant to be, and I, for one, enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure Joe, my companion on the other side of my co-host on the other side of things, Joe also enjoyed it. But again, you're just gonna have that hatred that you're gonna get those people that believe that, hey, if we shame or we complain or we do this enough to a certain group of people, we'll get what we want. However, that's not always the case, because the simple fact of the matter is the Suicide Squad, for all intents and purposes, is a good movie. Some people just need to accept it. So But moving right along for that, guys, I did actually want to cover the other great thing that we all saw, which was Marvel's What If. Now, Marvel's What If first episode was about, again, this is spoiler territory. If you haven't seen it, please mute me and or come back to me after watching it. But Marvel's What If trailer, again, I thought was great because it literally followed what if Peggy became Captain, what if Peggy had became uh, Captain Britain in this case. Which in this case, which we can see right here, guys, it was well actually as it's going over the promo trailers for the first one. But in this episode, we do see that, of course, Peggy's still with the SSR. In the event when they're about to actually do the super serum formula, Rogers was actually shot and couldn't actually continue. So Peggy herself hopped into the actual machine and basically became became Britain's super soldier, which you can see there. And an interesting twist of it all was that Peggy also was able to fight with Steve Rogers, who was actually using a Iron Man esque suit, and I mean Iron Man esque, because the simple fact of the matter is, guys, I looked at that because of course she was able to get the Tesseract, and then Howard Stark figured out, oh, I bet I can use this for a suit, and allow Steve Rogers to fight alongside Peggy, and then it still had, and it's kind of still funny, still have the Howling Commandos all together because they showed Dum Dum Dugan, for anybody can recognize Dum Dum Dugan anywhere. But it basically had her fighting the Red Skull, aka Hydra. So for the simple fact of the matter, I love the fact that number one, I forgot it was a half-hour episode. I thought it was great. I thought for the simple fact of the matter of her becoming a super soldier, still fighting the fact of still fighting sexism in the army, still thinking because she's a woman, she won't be able to you won't be able to accomplish such things. At the same time, she is steadily taking down folks and has a sword, Excalibur. I'm not saying it's Excalibur. They never said the word Excalibur, but let's be honest, it certainly looks like Excalibur. Anyway, um, but I just love the fact of the storytelling that it follows the same tracks as Captain America, and it's supposed to. If we're following the what if theory, it's supposed to follow. It's supposed to follow the same lines as Captain America: The First Avenger, in which that Peggy would sacrifice herself and eventually wind up in the future after being pushed out of said portal, fighting back Cthulhu for what it looks like. But again, I loved it just because it's what this Marvel What If series is going to be exactly what we thought it should be. It should be the questions of, what would happen if left went right, and would it be a great story? And let's be honest with Marvel slash Disney is really swinging for the fences on this. I'm actually looking forward to the next episode, which I think they're going to cover if T'Challa became Star Lord. I'm not 100% on that one. I'm thinking that is the next episode. But again, you guys tell me your thoughts in the comments. And again, Joe will have his say at the very end of this and his video. But again, I loved What If. I thought it was great. I thought it was perfect. I just, you couldn't tell a better story than that. You basically told a micro movie inside of nearly 40 minutes, and I just thought that particular part was great. But last thing I'll say before I get to Joe, because I know, like I said, he's still with me in a sense, just in video form. I did want to talk about anime for a second, and what I wanted to talk about, for the simple fact of the matter is, we talked about this last week that Bleach was having a one shot. Was basically as a 73 page one shot, and I looked at it and I told Joe, this doesn't seem like a one shot. This seems like they're going into a new arc. Now, Bleach is by far one of my favorite animes. I'm still looking forward to when they come up with a 1,000 Year Blood War, which is supposed to be coming. I'm assuming sometime down the line. It may not be this year. We don't really have any word on that yet, but we definitely know it's coming. Right up alongside with Demon Slayer, which I believe that'll be coming out very soon as well. But again, going back to Bleach. Anyway, so the one shot which they just released, which is actually still available for free on Viz Media if you still want to read it. I talked about this, guys, and I sat there and said, this is not a one shot. They are going to make it a new arc. And of course, on FromComicBook.com, they are announcing that yes, this is a brand new. The one shot basically is an introduction to a brand new arc in Bleach called Howl from the Jaws of Hell arc. Now, this is going to be spoiler territory. If you have not read the new chapter of Bleach from Viz Media, now would be a good time to mute me or come back to me because I am going to talk about it. for the simple fact of the matter is, the Howl from the Jaws of Hell arc is basically a time skip. This is actually going past the Thousand Year Blood War to where now Ichigo is still a Soul Reaper, he's a father who has a son, whose son has the same abilities as him, and to basically view spirits. Now, what they actually find out is that Ichigo is summoned back to Soul Society for a special ceremony to basically, to basically commiserate the fallen squad captains. So what he comes to find out is that they basically hunt a hollow in the human world and basically kill it in a ritual ceremony to honor the former squad captains. That being said, they find out during the arc that what they've been told is that certain spiritual pressure or Rishi doesn't get recycled back into the spirit world. It's just too dense. It doesn't really form well, so it has to be cast out before it causes calamity. So therefore, it's cast into hell. And the thing about it is that's not the only thing being cast in hell. The actual former squad captains who have fallen in battle because of their spiritual pressure also are in hell. So it brings up an interesting dynamic because now Aizen and Captain Yawish, who were the only two strongest forces that were keeping things there, are now dissipated, which means that Hell's Gates can no longer be stayed closed, and it brings up a new story on what actually happens with Ichigo, his son, and especially with Renji and others, and just seeing where it goes from there. I am looking forward to this for reading it because number one, it's Bleach. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to actually dive into it. And number two, it's the other side of it where again, it just amps me up for number one, a new arc, which means that usually in the anime world, manga comes first, anime second. So that makes me think that for the simple fact of the matter that aside from the Thousand Year Blood War, we may actually get this additional arc as well. Fingers crossed. Don't really know yet, but I'm definitely looking forward to it, and hopefully you guys are too. So, with that being said, guys, like I said before, I know I sat there and said Joe is still with me in a video sense. He is not with me this week. He will be back with me next week, but he still wanted to give his thoughts on everything that has occurred. So I'm going to let him take it up. Go ahead and let him speak his thoughts.
How's it going, everybody? It's Joe. I am uh, off doing things that superhero comic book reading kind of guys like me do, so I'm not on the show this week. My apologies. I do, however, want to slip in a nice video for you guys reviewing some comics this week. As always, you can find any and all these comics that I review over at Rick's Comic City, be it the Donaldson, Clarksville, or Fort Campbell area. Check your local library. They also supply comics. And if you are a viewer that is not in the Nashville area, check out your local comic shop or see where it is. You can find all these books there too. Before we jump into comics, I'm going to give my thoughts on some shows. I have not seen What If yet. I'll be seeing that as you watch as the show goes live. I won't have a chance to have seen Lower Decks again. I'll be watching that as the show goes live. I have had a chance to watch the first episode of Stargirl Season 2. Very, very creepy. I believe they're going to go with a more horror-themed tone this season, since we're involving Eclipso. I really dug the brief fight sequence we had with Jenny, which is Green Lantern's daughter, who will be the new Green Lantern for the series. Really looking forward to that. Other than that, I just look forward to Stargirl in general. I am extremely biased with that series. I'll be very upfront with that because I'm a huge Starman fan, and by proxy, a huge Stargirl fan, as I am a fan of both her series and more specifically the JSA series, most notably the Jeff Johns era from the late 90s into the 2000s. So there's that. I really did enjoy it. I got a chance to watch some of Titans. I think I enjoyed it. It's still Titans Run for Fair. They still have really great costume work, great fight sequences. Some of the characters are hit and miss for me. The 2 episodes I got to watch out of the 3 that are on HBO Max right now, their pacing was weird. Like, it seems they were trying to cram a lot into 3 episodes, and I'm not sure if all 3 episodes are the actual 3rd season, or if more are supposed to be coming out week by week, and this is just like a 2.5 hour, 3-part movie for season 3, but the pacing just felt really, really rushed in times, and it kind of took me out of it. Again, it's not bad. It's death in the family and under the red hood very quickly. Like, very quickly. And that just kind of took me out of it. Like I said, it's not bad. It's just so fast paced for no reason that it just kind of took me out of it. Still recommend giving it a shot. Again, my thoughts on Suicide Squad. So much bird hate. Don't know why. As for comic books, we are going to be looking at a couple here and there. Some indie, some Marvel, some DC. This actually got recommended to me by a friend. It's called Crossover. It's mostly by Donny Cates and Jeff Shaw. This time around, we are looking at issue 7, which is a special issue because this is going to be this is a issue that will be bridging the previous arc to the new arc. Just a little bit of run of crossovers. This is what happens when the world of comic books enters our realm. And much like everything, there's a lot of tension where beings of astronomical power and skill, pretty much what happens when gods invade the world of man, prejudice run high, and all sorts of bad things happen. Like, fights from the comic book world will spill over into ours, causing, of course, mass calamity, destruction, and death. And the superheroes try their best, but normal people just aren't real great with things that are different from themselves. So you can guess where that goes. This mostly is an Image comic, so you will see Image characters in this series, but they have no problem making specialized cameos such as arms, legs, or Easter eggs to other heroes from other franchises. This issue in particular is by Chip Zdarsky and pencils by Phil Hester, where Chip Zdarsky is being his Chip Zdarskiest. For those of you who are not aware, Chip Zdarsky is currently writing the run of Daredevil, which has been nothing short of fantastic. I highly recommend going to read that. But we see Chip Zdarsky opening up in Canada, being a short order fry cook for a burger place, who then immediately sets a burger on fire and is busy talking to his wife, because apparently Chip Zdarsky went on the run. He enters a comic store and has dinner with the comic store owner, and he explains, like, well, I'm on the run because someone is going after the comic writers and killing them, and I think I'm next. And it's really screwed up that the ones that we drew and wrote and gave life to are now turning around and trying to kill us. And it's just really weird. And he also drops that he was supposed to bring back Spectacular Spider-Man, but never got a chance to because the whole crossover thing happened. So then we see who's been chasing Chip Zdarsky through the comic book, and it's comic book Chip Zdarsky, which is weird. So real Chip Zdarsky in the comic is on the run from comic book Chip Zdarsky. And the way you distinguish the two is all comic characters have the dot color scheme. That way you can differentiate them from normal characters. Although some comic characters you can very obviously tell, as this is an Image comic. Once you cross over into the other zone, into the comic zone rather, they are seeing what they seem, but they still adhere to what they look like. So, for example, zombies from The Walking Dead are just black and white outlines. Because it's a black and white comic. But like Madman or Savage Dragon or Witchblade or Darkness look like themselves. But some comic characters that they are interacting with most of the time are the dot color scheme. So Chip talks to Chip, and There's some self-affirmation for Chip Zdarsky, I guess. Or self-therapy. It's really weird to say Chip is talking to Chip to help Chip overcome Chip's psychological problems. So, yeah. Uh, Stuff happens and the issue ends, and um, we see that normal Chip Zdarsky has no one else to turn to, so he goes to see a pair of cops, and they are Chris and Dina from Powers. And that's where it ends. Chris and Dina are also dot colored schemed to illustrate that they are from the comic book world, as he needs help trying to track down a comic character killing comic writers. Again, I just recently got into the series. I marathoned the whole first 6 issues uh, in like a single night. It is just that captivating. Um, and this newest issue, that's a bridge issue, is no exception, and it's just Chip Zdarsky being his fun self. It's fantastic. Moving on over, we are looking at Mighty Morphin, issue 10, by Ryan Perot and illustrated by Dan Mora. For those of you that have been keeping up with the series, I spoke of this last issue, or last time Mighty Morphin came up. I am absolutely correct. This is a Lord Zed origin story. I am not going to review too much. Other than there's some red herrings on who Lord Zed actually is, some great fight sequences. We see that where the Zeo crystal was originally kept, and it ends with the destruction of someone and the birth of Lord Zed, pretty much. I highly recommend this. Again, I don't know what's going on with this series, but this has just been lore dump after lore dump after lore dump. Ryan Perot is hitting it out of the park. Illustrations with Dan Mora have been nothing short of fantastic. I did not expect this kind of depth and reverence to be shown to Power Rangers, but they are creating and expanding and exploring this universe to realms I don't think anybody in the fandom could have possibly expected. And I am definitely keeping my eye on this book. Jumping over to Marvel, we're going to be looking at the finale of Children of the Atom with issue 6. This is written by, let me try and find it, Vita Alaya, who is the writer, and Paco Medina is the illustrator. We last left, Storm had just offered one of the kids, Carmen, a invitation to the Hellfire Gala. So this is somewhat out of sync. I think this may have been pushed out of sync because of COVID, because Hellfire Gala is over. We're slowly moving into the trial of Magneto in the X-Men timeline. But this is where Children of the Atom should be with Hellfire Gala. So the story itself is out of sync. But so far right now, we can confirm that all the kids except for Carmen are just normal humans in hyped up battle suits and tech. Carmen is actually a mutant. She has a brief fight with Buddy, who is Lady Cyclops Lass, and whatnot. Other than that, she gets dressed up. She does go to the Hellfire Gala. She meets up with Storm and hangs out with Storm for a little bit before Storm gets dragged away. Mystique tries to chat with her, and Storm's like, please don't frighten the children, Raven. Other than that, we get to see just more who's who in the Hellfire Gala. There's, of course, some cameos by celebrities and writers, all sprinkled all throughout. And poor Carmen is kind of feeling out of place in the grand scheme of things. We got some mutants that are just trying to bully her. Danny steps in from the New Mutants, but Danny gets pulled away by Captain America. iBoy tries to help her out, and it's pretty nice. She runs into Dazzler, gets an autograph. She tries to get into a sushi eating contest with Magic. Jumbo, who is a mutant whose primary power is just having 4 arms and an incredible fashion sense, compliments her on her dress and says that He will hook her up with even more. The next day, they just go and after the Hellfire Gala ends, Carmen gets with her parents and says, "Hey, I'm a mutant," expecting, normal human prejudice to take over. Instead, surprisingly, she gets acceptance from her family, which is nice and unexpected because more often than not in the X-Men, when you tell your family you're a mutant, they want nothing to do with you, or it's, well, are you sure you're a mutant? It was nice. It's nice and surprising. Um, Then the next day, we get to see that the Children of Atom are in another fight with. Uh, I keep forgetting. They're like the plant-based old ladies. I forget what their name. They're like the Golden Girl, evil Golden Girls is what they're calling them, which is an appropriate name. Uh, Carmen jumps in, helps fight everybody, and it kind of goes okay. And then everybody makes up, and then the book ends. This was a nice little miniseries. I'm kind of bummed it was kind of told a little bit out of sequence. This would have been nice if it was just right there where it should have been, but stuff happens. COVID was a thing. This is the finale of the book. I'm sure we will see some of these characters in due time over the course of the run of the X-Men Hickman era. It's just, we don't know where and when. Moving on over, we got Fantastic Four Life Story Part 3, The 80s. This is written by Mark Russell and artist by Sean Izakasi. My apologies on names. This is the 80s. So, of course, we are in the Cold War, and the government is contracting Reed Richards to help with a strategic defense base because they're afraid Russia's going to nuke them. Of course, Reed is like, yeah, we also have to worry about Galactus, and everyone's like, oh, God, Reed. Meanwhile, Johnny is picking up, I want to say, in Juvenile Hall because I think there's a small cameo of Jubilee, but I'm not quite sure. But anyways, he's picking up Franklin Richards. Franklin, its report is that Franklin somewhat attacks students. Unfortunately, that is not the case. Franklin had one of his psionic episodes, so everything amplified the brains around everybody around him, and it was just kind of an attack. Johnny immediately being cool Uncle Johnny, who's almost 40, as of this book, just like, burns up the report and heads over to Ben's place. Ben and Reed. They just all have a nice time and whatnot. Other than that, Reed is getting official petition for divorce papers from Sue. Reed is still separated from him almost for a decade, which is weird. Sorry, just kind of lost on something. Reed goes and appears on David Letterman. This is 1980s David Letterman. So it's just a big chat with him. Reed's really being, of course, there, but pondering about the divorce papers, can't figure out why, after years of separation, she's finally asking for divorce. Of course, he's also coming to the conclusion of, oh, I was a fool and took Sue for granted, imagining she was merely a reward that I had deserved. I'm an idiot. Reed Richards, coming to the most obvious conclusions way too late in the game. Meanwhile, in the Soviet Russia, someone is launching nukes. Johnny Namor, who kind of looks like Mr. Spock with a giant white Miami Vice blazer jacket, is walking with Sue and whatnot. So Johnny is just being Johnny Storm and has to speak to the entire U.S. Embassy. Pretty much saying, look, the world is pretty much doomed. There's no way around it. I mean, the Cold War is basically just a name we came up with for a sack race with the Soviets. But the moment Galactus gets here, we're screwed. Like, we are utterly and totally screwed. The world is boned, and enjoy the world while you can. So, of course, the U.S. Assembly is immediately terrified because even the other Fantastic Four is like, we're boned. There's nothing we can do. Once the large purple man gets here, we are doomed. Meanwhile, he's chatting with other heroes. Johnny is chatting with Spider-Man, who they are both coming up on their 40s. Johnny is like, I can't believe I'm coming up on 40. What about you, Spidey? How are you taking it? Because they know each other. And Spidey's like, well, adult contemporary music is starting to make a lot more sense to me. Namor and Sue are talking to delegates. I just now noticed Namor's not wearing shoes. That is weird. Meanwhile, the nuclear crisis is continuing to happen. Doom is being transferred out of prison, and the reason why Doom is being let out is it's a large laboratory by the Mad Thinker. And we just have like a little montage. Johnny's out and about in the town. Reed's doing sciencey stuff. Sue and Namor are having fun in the ocean. Ben is just being Ben because Ben does not have a great life in this book. He is not as well accepted as he is in other books. So, as I said, all the nukes are coming up, and it's up to the Fantastic Four to try to stop them. Sue is asking Namor what they should do. Sue's like, well, we got to go home. Namor's like, it's too late. We just need to go underwater. They've done this to themselves. We don't need to be here. Sue's like, well, I mean, where are we going to go? And Namor's like, well, I mean, I rule the majority of the world via the ocean. We can just go there. And Sue's like, well, what about Franklin? Shouldn't he get a say in this? And then Namor's like, we can start again. We can have other children. And Sue just immediately vanishes. So Namor has totally screwed himself out of his wife, or out of a wife. Sue immediately rejoins Fantastic Four, and Sue, Thor, I guess this is 80s Thor. This is like a lot of armor for Thor. Definitely 80s Iron Man and symbiote suit Spider-Man are all trying to go and stop the nukes and disable them best we can. However, they did miss one, and Johnny goes to intercept and forces a nuke to explode, but absorbs all the nuclear explosion into himself, and he dies. He becomes a pile of ashes and just passes away. And we end the issue, unfortunately, on Johnny Storm's tombstone, which is Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, 1946 to 1986. So we are without the Fantastic Four for a change. And then next issue is Fantastic Four Life Story, the 90s. Moving on over to DC, we have the first of Batman 89, issues 1 of 6. This is written by Sam Hamm, and art and cover is by Joe Canois. We start off with classic Harvey Dent. Who is Billy D. Williams. Sorry, the name escaped me for a moment. So, the Billy D. Williams Harvey Dent is going to have dinner with, I want to say his wife. And it is Halloween in Gotham. We are seeing people dressing up as everybody. We do get some Tim Burton cameos and Easter eggs. We see a couple kids dressed up as the 3 kids from Nightmare Before Christmas. We see a woman dressed as the Martian impersonator, and we see Lydia Dietz in her red dress. So it's pretty cute. We also see one gentleman being questioned by the news on, don't you think it's a little dangerous to glorify someone like the Joker, as he's dressed up like the Joker? But we see that the Joker's death didn't really stop certain things, because we were starting to see Joker impersonators or other things jump up. In fact, we actually see a Dark Knight Rises, the Dark Knight Returns reference by someone dressing up as Batman, a son of the Bat, and mutants. And Joker people in Joker costumes are starting to jump people left and right. Batman does start intervening. This is the Michael Keaton Batman, so his costume's a little weird because this is a little older. We see Billy D. Williams trying and attempting to be mugged and fighting everybody off. And then he ends up with a gun and starts doing the two-faced coin flip of I get to choose your fate. And we see gunshots, but we don't see what's happened as Batman drives past them. And then he talks to Bruce. This is, I guess, taking considerable time after Batman returns because Bruce's temples are graying. It's a little weird. I don't really like the art style for Bruce. I think everybody else looks great except for Bruce's style. And the Batman suit. It's a little weird. This, in the grand scheme of things, is actually good. We do see Barbara Gordon is Sergeant in this universe. We do see her dad is still there, along with Harvey Bullock. This Jim Gordon is a little... it's hard to say. They didn't really give us that great of a Commissioner Gordon to characterize to move into the movie, so it's hard to characterize what kind of Gordon this is. Apparently Barbara Gordon is engaged to Harvey Dent in this universe. Okay. We also, towards the end of the series, we see a series of robberies in downtown, and we see a kid dressed in green, red, and yellow lure Batman and then knock him off a building and then give somebody $8. So I guess that's our new Robin. Later on down, we get some line work of Superman 78, which is continuing the Christopher Reeve Superman tale. And that also starts in August. I can recommend this, especially if you're a Michael Keaton fan. This does take place after Batman Returns. I am still hesitant with some of the art. Some of the art is fantastic. It's Michael Keaton that does not look great in this. It's the Michael Keaton design. There's a lot of nods to other realms of Batman in this, which are fantastic. Like I said, it does continue the story, which was really good. I'll keep it on my eye on it. This may be one of the few Bat books I actually follow, if only because it's a 6-part mini. Jumping over into Wonder Woman. This is Wonder Woman's issue 777, Lucky Sevens. Last we left, Wonder Woman got out of the realm of ancients and into what seems to be her universe. But it is the Justice League, but it's a little confusing because apparently she is not on her Earth. She is on Earth 11, where all the genders are flipped. Which, really doesn't matter for Martian Manhunter in the grand scheme of things. But, So in the Hall of Justice, they're working with Wonder Woman is consulting with the other Justice League members: Superwoman, Batwoman, Aquawoman, Star Sapphire, Flash, Martian, Ms. Martian, about the evil twin of hers, Janice, who is out in the God Sphere killing multiple pantheons, and how her murder spree is slowly spilling into the universe, it seems. Um, we have a quick fight with Boston Brand, but as I said, all the genders in this inflict. So, Wonder Man. Dane of Elysium is here, and he was banished and caged, but was released by Janice to wreak revenge upon Earth 11. He has all the powers, and he's basically just Superman, but with Wonder Woman's uniform as more of a Greek gladiator uniform. Still a tiara, or as Luke Cage likes to call it, a headband, and the lasso of truth. But it takes the entire Justice League to female Justice League. Female Justice League doesn't seem right. That sounds what are they called in this world? Give me a second, guys. I just want to be correct on this. The Justice Guild. Okay, there we go. So, Wonder Woman finally does catch up with Janice while the Justice Guild is dealing with Wonder Man. It's a bit of a good fight. Diana starts to lose, but then Radisher comes in and nibbles on Janice's hand. The Guild, Star Sapphire, saves Radisher from being roasted squirrel, while Janice gets hit with her own sickle by her Wonder Woman, and she has to retreat. She does scar Wonder Woman's face, but they all have to retreat, both Wonder Man and Janice. And as such, we are now in the God Sphere itself, so Wonder Woman is now in a realm between realms. Siegfried is still there, Radisher is still there, but now they're in more classic attire. Like Wonder Woman is in her almost golden, that transitional period between her golden age and silver age costume. Siegfried is in like a very classic Olympian's attire, and Radisher is still a squirrel. And we are to be continued from there. So, guys, that's all the comics I got this week. I had one more, but I don't want to keep everyone going, keep the show going longer than it needs to. Thank you for your time. Please, as always, feel free to reach out, chat. You can find me at all the normal places. And I will see you guys hopefully next week. Take it easy.
All right. So thank you, Joe. He always has a list. I thought I read comics books. That's why I let Joe handle the comic book recommendation of the week, because he always seems to find more comics, especially in stories I haven't. I mean, and I consider myself a pretty good connoisseur, but Joe, that man, I bow to his comic book knowledge. But anyway, thank you, Joe, and like I said, I appreciate that, man. Hope to see you back on here next week right along with me. Well, that's really going to do it for our podcast, guys. So before we get out of here, I do got to do some shameless plugging. I did first start with my podcasting brother in arms, Big BZA Dot. You can definitely check him out, Avon Witherspoon on Facebook, or Big BZA Dot on all socials, as he has his podcast coming up with his Smoking Trailer Sundays, in which he does trailers of movies and videos he finds interesting, and therefore won't let you, the people, know about what you like. You might find something that he might find something that makes you question Vaughn's taste in movies, like I do. But I still love the guy. But it's every Sunday from 6:30 to 9. Of course, his podcast, The RAF, which is like America's Funniest Home Videos, except done by World Star, definitely for the adults, every Tuesday from 6:30 to 9 p.m. Please check him out on his socials for any news and updates, A the Bond Witherspoon on Facebook, or Big BZA Dot on all socials. Special shout out to Ari and G, Present Geek Salad. Ari and G, that I've actually been on their podcast before. It is definitely very fun. Definitely want to give them a shout out, as well as you can find them on YouTube, especially also Facebook as well. Just look up Ari and G Present Geek Salad. The name as you see it right there on YouTube, and the same on Facebook. But definitely like and share, as these two guys definitely have perspectives on a lot of different shows, anime, and things that they find interesting. So definitely so definitely show them the love. Show them some love. I just turned to Steve Harvey. Show them some love. Of course, as for yours truly, the link at the bottom, you copy and paste that into your browser, takes you to my link tree that shows the Facebook and YouTube groups for all of my podcasts. Get Bit, How the Facts Got Here, and Off Limits podcast. Definitely like, share, and pretty much tell people about them. Let's grow these podcasts like wonderful sunflowers they are, at least in my opinion. Also, let me not forget my IG, BlackFox447. You can see right there. Definitely like and follow, as I usually post movie reviews, video games, things of that nature, and sometimes gym stuff, because I'm trying to work out. I'm not in shape as where I want to be. I'm trying to get out of the out of shape process. But again, you can follow me, and I really appreciate that as well. That being said, guys, please take care of yourselves out there. COVID-19 is definitely, and its cousin, the Delta variant, is definitely wreaking havoc. So please take precautions. Please get vaccinated. Please wear a mask. Do what you need to do. Look out for others, because that's the main thing right now. Looking out for not only ourselves but for others, because our choices and consequences definitely do affect those around us. That being said, if you do have the ability to make somebody's life great, whether it's a minute, day, an hour, or a lifetime, please do so. The world could use some more random acts of kindness. And aside from that, guys, if you're watching this on the playback, please comment if it's live. It'll actually be uploaded very soon to YouTube, as long as they don't try to DM, as long as they don't try to Zuckerberg us. But hey, we do what we can here until we start developing apps of our own. So I just want to tell everybody thank you again for watching us. Please do take care of yourselves and each other, and have a wonderful weekend. I'm solo dolo this week. Joe will be back with me next week, but as you can tell, he was back with me in video form. But we'll be back next week for more fandom news from the Get Bit podcast. Take care of yourselves, guys, and each other. Peace.